Yeah. The FR-S and BRZ, nearly identical cars that share one major problem. There's a lack of power and acceleration. Okay, I'll just make my point here. This car's forte is not power and speed. You know what? I'm okay with it, and I think most owners are. The reason it's an issue is because in America, it's gotten exceedingly hard for me to accept this as a sports car. And I'll be frank, there's just some days I don't like getting my doors blown off by a Dodge Grand Caravan, or a Toyota Camry, or a Honda Odyssey. I could make you a list, and we could debate it all day long. But the bottom line is, it's the elephant in the room. The car's got no balls.
The following are comments posted on YouTube from part 1 of the FR-S review. Mega Sir Paul tweeted, "You're a fag, dude, you should kill yourself." Dirk Diggler wrote, "I hope you got rid of that piece of shit FR-S and your list. Pick up a V8, dude, you'll probably get laid." Killafocker says, "Seems like you suck a lot of cocks." That's true. Anonymous YouTube comments, "You'd rather make these crappy videos than make sweet love to your brown girlfriend." Every time someone posts a nasty comment on YouTube, he beats me.
Alright, that's enough. Get the fuck out of here. I paid you for the hour. And while you're at it, I got a tasty little treat waiting for you in the toilet to clean up. When you're done with that, fix my supper. I like it hot, pig. Let's get to the real comments from YouTube. I'm sorry about that. This one comes courtesy of Latino Muscle Man. He says, he is the best lover, driver, and has the largest reproductive organ this side of the Sudan. Real poetry. Okay, let's get to the next major issue with this car, and some of this is subjective, but mostly it's hard to disagree with the fact that this interior is straight out of a B-segment car. For something that's $25,000 as this is, or if you're a BRZ owner pushing 30K, I didn't really expect an interior out of a Nissan Versa or a Honda Fit. I mean, literally, it's on par, if not worse, than those cars in some ways. Now, it extends from the textured materials, the dash, the vinyl treatments all over. The only thing I can compare it to, and I said this in my previous review, is it's like a time warp back into the 90s. It's exactly what you'd expect out of like an old Acura Integra or a Honda Prelude or an old Mr. 2, for example. It's not up to snuff with where other cars in this price range are. Oh, now you're saying, come on, Billy. Don't make fun of my FR-S. It was engineered to be a sports car. Well, I'll give you a sprinkle of good in all this bad. As soon as you grab onto this wheel and get in this seat and you're looking ahead, all this goes away. But when you actually own this car and you drive it daily, the fact that I want to play whack-a-mole on the dashboard with all the creaks and rattles that have popped up in the past 5,000 miles, or the rear deck that sounds like somebody's got rocks in it, these are things that make for a extremely annoying driving experience. And it's one of the huge shortcomings of this car for the price. The other bad, quality issues. What does that mean? Well, their parts suppliers have some serious issues with things like these garbage bin taillights that leak incessantly. There's no point of getting them replaced because they're gonna leak again. Other things like the engine computer. As soon as I got it, I started getting check engine lights. And long story short, you bring it to the dealer, they kind of half figure out what's going on, they call tech line, they ordered an engine computer. Well, in my case, it took 2.5 months to get the engine computer. Now that's me having another car in the time period. It wasn't, honestly, it wasn't a major deal. I can make it a big deal, but I think 2.5 months to get a part is pretty shitty. That's putting it nicely. Okay, so clearly the parts issue is a big deal. So we have 3 things: the lack of power, the interior quality, and the quality control issues. So all those things added up are potential deal breakers for buyers. And they're even annoyances for me as a current owner. Okay, so I have the FR-S on a lift, and I just want to go over the basics because really there's nothing too unique or exotic about this car compared to most of the cars on the road. And if you look at the suspension geometry in the back and in the front, it's very similar to that of a basic Impreza. But as we go over the car in the back here, what they did with this muffler or exhaust system is they used it as a diffuser. So that's why, that's one of the design features of this car, is they actually use this to help with airflow. So if you remove it for a different muffler, that's something to be aware of. Most of the components under this car are either stamped steel or cast steel. So if you drive it in the winter in the water, just expect it pretty much to be a rust bucket eventually, like any other car. There's nothing too fancy about it. One of the unique things about this car that differs from other vehicles is the skid plate they put on the front. Basically, this is an engine protector or exhaust manifold protector. Underneath here is the exhaust header or exhaust manifold. This plate is designed to protect that in event you bottom out the car or go off-roading or whatever. But because the engine sits so low, the exhaust manifold is actually right here where my fingers are at. And so it creates a unique problem to protect all of that. And this is also just another protective shroud. Okay, as we can see towards the front of the car, they did a really good job in terms of getting the airflow to move smoothly under this front panel. Basically, the engine bay stays extremely clean. With the hood closed, there's a rubber seal, and some cars actually are not putting a rubber seal under the hood, so they get very dirty. But this car's engine bay manages to stay extremely clean because there's not too much ways that dirt and debris can get back up in there. But the other thing to note is there's a lot of people complaining that there's an awful stench or burning smell coming from this car after driving it, and I've noticed that as well, and it's something that hasn't gone away over time. And I think partly because this tray doesn't allow for much airflow, things that get up there just basically burn off the exhaust manifold right away, and there's more of a stink than I've ever smelt in any other car. And I usually shower every other day, so I know it's not my my canals or bodily holes that are causing this odor. It's definitely mechanical in this case. Actually, you know what, my zipper's down here. My zipper's down again. Well, that's every time I come in here, somehow my zipper comes down. We're inside the FR-S, and it's time to make this a little bit more positive, because so far all I've done is basically puked up all the worst things about the car. The engine. As much as I complain that there's a lack of power and just an overall lack of torque, for daily driving, it gets great fuel economy. I'm able to get about 30 miles to the gallon with it, which is a big surprise. I didn't expect that at all. Now, there's some people that get near 20, and they're obviously driving a lot harder than I am. Now, in the winter, specifically, this car really comes alive, and it's obviously because of the cold air. It helps to generate more horsepower, and it's a lot more peppy to drive in the winter. It's a lot better, actually. So that's one thing. Despite the shortcomings of winter, it is nice to have a little bit more juice on tap. Now I'm going to talk about the suspension a little bit. And the suspension is normally very firm in the summer. I don't have a particular problem with it because of the cars that I've come from in the past. I think the consensus with this car is the suspension is a bit over-dampened. The struts, basically what they do is they're overcompensating. So what you get is this aggressive rebound and bound that gives the car a very agile feel, but at the sacrifice of a little bit of ride quality. For the most part, every single review praises this car as super balanced. And that is true. It's a very well-balanced car. Next up is the vehicle's stability control system. A lot of us think we are amazing drivers, and it just goes with the territory. If you're an enthusiast behind the wheel, you take driving seriously and you think you're the best or good. And the thing is, I want to make a point with this, is that no matter what kind of driver you are, professional or not, there's things that this stability control system can do that no driver can do. And one of that is just that. Individually braked specific wheels based on sensors to get the car back going straight. If I disable all of it, which is very fun to do, I, as a driver, cannot choose which wheel I want to brake to regain control. That's the key and most important part of the stability control system. There's two modes, full on, which is everything on, or you can choose to put on VSC Sport. And all VSC Sport really is a less aggressive form of the full-on all systems. It gives you a little bit more slip angle, traction control's not as aggressive, but you're still gonna get saved if you go into a slide. My recommendation is, if you wanna learn how to drive this car, turn all this crap off, go to a track or an autocross, and just go nuts. Learn exactly what the car's doing and how it's going to respond when you do it. So in conclusion, this was never my dream car. This is not a dream car for me. And I know that a lot of the younger crowd and some people consider this to be their dream car, something they wanted really bad. And I've had cars like that already. And they've been cars that have sat in my garage 6 months out of the year that I haven't driven. And I can't stomach doing that anymore. But it's got all these classic elements of just these old cars that I used to drive. It's got the rattles, the imperfections, just the annoyances of a shit box that has 100,000 miles on it. But there's so much soul to it and so much fun to be had that all that stuff is just, it's a non-issue for me now. And I really enjoy just driving it daily. And I can't say that about too many of the other cars I've ever owned.